Mart's here from Explore Scientific. Thanks for joining us a little bit late here on Friday. It's finally Friday, and we were all just taking a break and chilling, doing nothing, and realized, oh, wait, we have a show. So here we are. Today's show, and everybody in here is laughing. Andy's over in the control booth, and Tyler's over here in the lazy chair. The gas chamber. Boy, I think I've frozen. Yep.
There it goes. This Wi-Fi's going to be bad.
Yeah, Wi-Fi in here is bad today, so we're trying to go Wi-Fi. This is going to be an exercise. It's fun. Today is Focus on Astrophotography. It's what we do every Friday, and we're going to focus on how you get started doing astrophotography. Well, how do you get started with astrophotography? It's real simple. You get any tripod, the tripod you have, and if you have a digital single lens reflex camera, or even just a digital camera with a built-in lens, you are ready to start doing astrophotography. How do you do it? Real simple. You just go out and you start experimenting. You do a little bit of science. You take some notes. My suggestion is you're going to shoot a wide-angle shot of the Milky Way, so you're going to point the camera south. After dark, you're going to turn your camera on, and you're going to figure out how long you can shoot your camera. So the easiest way to do it is to simply set your ISO at 1000, set your camera at the widest aperture it'll go, the smallest F number, and then take a exposure of a certain period of time. How do you figure out what that is? It's real simple. There's this thing out there called the rule of 500, and you take the focal length of the lens you have. In this case, it's 24 millimeters. So in round numbers, 25 will go into 100 4 times, and 100 will go into 500 5 times. So 5 times 4 is 20. I can take a 20-second exposure, and before I start getting star blur, okay, because the Earth is turning, that 20-second exposure will allow the camera to take a picture for 20 seconds and not get blur. So you point the camera south, you set your shutter, your f-stop wide open, you go to your widest angle lens, you put on the tripod, take a 20-second exposure, and look at it. Now, when you look at it, it may not look like much. You need to download it, and you're going to open up your photo editing program. But just take a series of pictures at different exposures, change the ISO, just take good notes. The first picture, write down exactly what you took. Take 5 of them, right? And then the next 5 pictures, and make sure you always take 5 or whatever number it is, change the ISO, change the sensitivity, go to 2000, and then go to 4000, and then go in, download your pictures on your computer, and take a look at them. Now, they may not look like much in the beginning, but if you open up the midtones and play with the manipulations, you might be shocked at what's on those pictures. So that's how you can get started. And you can start learning how to do this. But pretty soon, you decide you want to take longer pictures than you can take without getting star blur. How do you do that? It's real easy. You get a go-to tracker just like this iXOS 100. It's over in the carousel right now. You can pick it up for a great price. Get it shipped to you, and you'll be on your road to taking longer exposures. Now, there's a little bit to learn in using a mount like this. Let's talk about how this mount works. This mount moves in 2 different ways. It moves around and around in what's called right ascension. That effectively is the same axis as the Earth moves. And then I've got these counterweights too tight up here. I'm going to loosen this clutch. It's not a lock, it's a clutch. And this moves right here. It's called declination. And that is sort of up and down, okay? So here's how this is going to work. You're going to point this north, this axis north, or if you're in the southern hemisphere, you point it south. You want to point it to true south, not magnetic south or magnetic north. If you live in the central United States like we do here in northwest Arkansas, we're almost magnetic north, and true north are 1 degree off. But if you live in California or Virginia or Maine or somewhere, you could be off by 15 or 16 degrees magnetic. So you use a compass, point the compass at north and line this up, you're going to be off by 15 degrees from true north. So you have to figure that part out. It's called magnetic declination. You need to know how much to adjust to get your magnetic north and true north, get pointed true north versus magnetic north. Once you have that, you have to know what latitude you're at. Here in northwest Arkansas, we're at 36. Over here on the side of the mount, there's a scale that shows you a latitude, and you just set it to whatever latitude you have. It's easy to search that up and find it for your city. Once that's done, how do you hook your camera up to it? Well, this device right here, which is our camera adapter plate, designed specifically for use with a camera and a telescope tripod. We're going to attach this plate using the standard 1/4 to 20 screw, and I keep forgetting to bring a coin. It's easier to use a coin than it is the bail that's on here. And let me get this.
Kent?
Yes. There we go. Dude Tech?
Features last name.
Dude
Yes.
Tech Music?
Yes.
Hey.
Says, hi y'all, I'm just saying your mount alignment method works perfectly.
So you've used it? Awesome. Ton lives in Europe. I've seen some of his great astrophotography that he's doing. He is beginning to mastered it. He does some really nice work. But he's just like you are. He started one day not knowing anything about this. You can do all the research you want, but after a certain point, you just got to get out under the stars and go take some pictures and start experimenting. There's no easy button. So now, I've got the camera on this plate. I can simply slide this in, and this is just like we would attach a telescope, and tighten down the two knobs. And I've done this enough with this mount. I know that that's pretty close to being balanced. Now we can check the balance. Yeah, see, not bad. And I know my left-right is good, but we'll do the left-right as well. It's going to be a little bit nose heavy. I don't really care that much. I could work on this and put it in a different way and get it configured, but I'm not going to, because I know the Exos 100 can handle that imbalance really well. So we now have the camera pointed north. We have our camera set to whatever shutter speed and we're going to have. And if you have a self-timer, I would use the self-timer to start the button. Or by an item called an intervalometer. We need to put one of those over in the carousel today. Now this mount, let's talk about it real quick. The motors in here, right here and right here, those motors are not servo motors. Servo motors, you hook the power up to them and turn them on. They just run full blast. As much torque as they can have, you can't adjust it. These motors are digital servo motors, and they move by micro steps. There's a chip in there, a little circuit, that tells them, the program in the iPad tells the mount how to move, and it moves and counts steps and micro steps. And that's how we control the mount. It's a belt-driven system, smooths out what would be gear chatter, very resilient, robust system. So, I'm using an Android tablet today with, and this is probably 7 or 8 years old. It has a program you can download right now and play with named Explore Stars. Explore Stars right now runs on tablets with screen sizes of at least 7 inches, tablets, a Windows, an Android, or an Apple iPad. Has to be a tablet. Don't have an app yet for the phone. We're working on it. We're going to come out with one. It'll also run on a Windows 10 machine, laptop, or desktop computer as well. It's a wireless connection. Now, we don't recommend long-term using a tablet to do astrophotography, but it's a great way to get started. There's lots of people use it all the time and just keep using, their mount, and they master their techniques. We recommend that after a certain point, you move up to a computer and wire it into the computer directly and use a planetarium program. Lots of free options. There's paid options out there. Use a planetarium program to actually control the mount and move away from Explore Stars. But even there's a way to use the planetarium program and Explore Stars together. The mount is capable of handling that. So, real quick, let's go ahead.
So Ton also says, thanks to the live feeds, I was able to get my deep sky camera going. through the laptop, had a beautiful live view of the moon with my 8-inch NT go-to.
That's awesome. You know I see, like I said, on Facebook I see pictures he does. He's doing some really nice work. And, you know, you just got to start and learn. You've got to overcome the challenges. You have to be curious. There's not really an easy button in this hobby. You just have to break it down into small, bite-sized pieces. And like the joke says, how do you eat an elephant?
One small bite.
One bite at a time. And you just start and you attack whatever it is you can attack and fix it, and then you move to something else and you learn. There's tons of resources, tons of forums out there, but the trick is to just start. Not be in what I would think of knowledge acquisition gridlock. You want to be perfect when you start, and so you just keep amassing knowledge, but you never amass any practical experience. You don't take the camera out and just start shooting. At some point, friends, just go start shooting. So, thanks for joining us here on Amazon Live. If you're out there, and we'd love to hear a shout out from you, give us a howdy or a hey or whatever it is, welcoming comment you make. And if you haven't followed us, we would love for you to follow us here on Amazon Live. So, first thing I do, I got to connect the tablet to the mount. So I'm simply going to go to the settings. It sees the mount called PMC8 6358. 6358 is the serial number of this mount. It's not the serial number, but it's the board number. And I'm going to tap on it, and it's going to connect. I'm just going to click connect. I've already put the password in. The password has to go in the first time. It's PMC-EIGHT, capital P, capital C, capital M, and a capital E, everything else lowercase. I'm now connected. It gives me a warning there's no internet available, right? Because this tablet is looking for the internet when it connects to a wireless. Well, this is sending out a wireless signal just like your home router does, but there's no internet connected to it. So the tablet is going, hey, be sure about this. Now I'm going to hit the circle button, the square button. There we go. I'm going to cancel Explore Stars because I do not want it running in the background. And now I'm going to launch Explore Stars again. And here we go. Explore Stars is going to launch just like that, maybe. There it goes. Explore Stars just launched just like that. And I am going to test it real quick. I'm going to grab what's called the virtual joystick. And there it goes. You can see it moving right there, so we know we're connected to it. And you hear it go bum, 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 makes sort of a song sound. That's simply the motor management and weight management. It doesn't just apply power, booms, like stomping the gas. It just accelerates it and gets it to the speed it's going to, and then when it gets close to where it's going to stop, it starts slowing down and coasting to a stop. And that's that sort of musical sound. That's not something we've added. That's just the sound the motors and housings and circuit boards make. I'm going to tap Menu. I'm going to tap Catalog. And let's say it was nighttime, right? And we're going to shoot a picture of M4. So I'm going to tap M4 and salute object. And there we go. Off we go. It's going to move to, oh, there's something I didn't tell you. It's going to move to where it knows M4 is. Now, if your camera is not pointed perfectly north or your mount is not polar aligned, it may get close or it may be dead on. If you lucked into a good polar alignment, it should be dead on. This mount has a process where you can go through a 2 or 3 star alignment. So what you do is you tap in the menu buttons, you tap 2-star alignment, and it's going to create a mathematical, so it goes to a star, and you center up the star as best you can in the center of the eyepiece of your telescope or your camera, and you hit next. And when you go to next, it goes to another star, and you'll center it up, and then what happens? You hit next. Now it's built a mathematical model of the error that you have in your polar alignment, and it applies that to every go-to. For visual and beginning astrophotography, that's fine. But after a certain point, you have to get to where you get a better polar alignment so that you don't have to do those 2-star alignments. Now, we can tell by the angle it is right now, because that would be north, so it's pointing to the southeast. M4 has just risen because it's just over the horizon. But there we go, it's gone to M4. So now we can start taking pictures of M4. M4 is a star cluster in the constellation Scorpius, which is the Scorpion, part of just west of the core of the Milky Way galaxy. So let's do something else. Let's, we're moving along. We try to keep it to a 30-minute show. So I'm going to go back to catalog. I'm going to go to the home button, menu, settings. I'm going to park the telescope because once you get done, you know, you start saying, I want to take closer up pictures, because right now we're using a wide angle lens, right? So you use your 200 millimeter zoom and get things in focus, but you want to go farther than that. You want to start getting better pictures. A lot of people want to jump in right into a big 127 millimeter telescope. And my recommendation is you don't do that. My recommendation is you go with a small, light, wide field, low magnification telescope like this beautiful Explorer Scientific ED extra low dispersion glass telescope. You start out with this. There's a way to make this a camera lens. I'm going to show you what it is right now. Why go with something small and light like this? Because you want to work your way up. Nobody starts out deciding they want to race cars, and the first thing they do is go drive an Indy 500 car by themselves. You got to work your way up to it, right? Well, how do you do that? You start driving carts or IMCA modifieds or whatever, and you work your way up. You learn the skills you need, and you keep moving as you go. Now, can some people jump right in and do it? Yep, they can. But I've had many customers who bought a 127 and then turned around and traded it in, or bought a ED80 and then kept the 127 knowing they were going to move up to it. So I've taken...
Tom has a
Yes.
question. He says, what kind of sky camera do you recommend from our shop to switch to a laptop control?
Read that again.
What kind of deep sky camera do you recommend from your shop to switch to a laptop control?
Tom, we don't really sell many cameras. We sell a few QHY cameras, and we don't sell any ZWO cameras. I don't want to make a recommendation on a camera that we don't necessarily sell. There's lots of parameters. You have to match your sensor. Here's Tyler. Tyler can answer that question better. Tyler, come here.
Sure.
I don't know.
I don't know. You're wearing a NASA shirt.
Yeah.
Just don't get close to me. All right, so I'll move for you. You stand there. Hello, Tyler. Love you, man. Okay, Ton has Dude Tech Music.
Ooh, nice.
From Belgium, I believe. He lives in Europe. Has a question. Annie?
He says, what kind of deep sky camera do you recommend from our shop to switch to a laptop control?
What? Who shop? What?
He thinks to be Explorer Scientific.
He's saying Explorer Scientific.
So we don't really...
We don't really carry cameras. We have QHY,
A
but
couple.
we don't have any in stock at this current moment. It also depends on what telescope you use.
Because you have to match your telescope to your sensor size.
Well, it's pixel scale.
Pixel scale.
Yeah.
I said telescope to your sensor size. Yeah, pixel scale.
It's pixel scale.
Yeah. So talk about the magic of that.
Pixel scale?
Yeah, so how do you decide that?
By math, unfortunately. And
Tyler,
I don't have the graph in front of me. I have my cheat sheet.
Tyler, math don't work well together.
If he's able to email us, I can send him that cheat sheet that I have.
Well, he'll have to email Amazon.
Yeah.
Yes.
Email. So, Ton, what you need to do is go to the Explorer Scientific store on Amazon, because we can't send you off the Amazon platform.
Right.
And
He's from the Netherlands.
the Netherlands. Okay, yeah. I was Netherlands and Belgium really next door neighbors, I think.
Email
you go.
Amazon.
No, not email at Amazon.
Oh, well.
You go to the Explorer Scientific store on Amazon.
Yeah.
Click contact the seller, and then Noah will get your message. It'll be Monday, but I know how to contact you, so I'll take care of that.
Yeah.
So, all right, but that's how you contact us, through the Amazon platform. So, to do deep sky, you have to have some pretty good focal length. You know, well,
You can do it with this.
yeah, I was
You can
thinking,
do it with this.
yeah, you can do it with this, but you want to get better, you know, I'm thinking galaxies, deep sky, tiny galaxies.
You can do it with this.
You can do it with this.
You can do it
start.
with this.
You can start just blowing it up. This is a 12-year-old camera.
Doesn't matter.
It's better than the camera you don't have.
That's right.
That's right. That's why
Better
you just
than a film
start.
camera.
Better than a film camera. By. That's when I started doing astrophotography, and that's why I stopped doing astrophotography. It just was a pain in the old film camera, let me tell you what. All right, so here's how you connect up a camera to a telescope. It's real simple. The diagonal is in there so you can use an eyepiece, right? Well, you don't need the diagonal anymore. Not part of the system. What you're going to need is, and to start out with, you don't even need a field flattener, but I recommend getting a field flattener. And here is our new field flattener for short focal length telescopes. It's for telescopes that are f5 to f7. It comes with an M48 back or an M42. That number is the measurement of this diameter right. It's got really long threads on it. Right here. Oh, it's got a big old dust bunny. Shouldn't blow on it. Don't blow on it, because when you blow on it, you get spittle on it, and then you get spittle spots, and yeah, bad. So this or this is the way to attach the camera. If you don't have a field flattener, you can get this little adapter right here, and it goes in there just like the diagonal did, right? It'll just go right in and slip in. Not a problem. How do you hook your camera to it? Well, if you take your lens off, it has a special foot. This is a Canon. And you get that same ring called a T-ring. Notice it looks just like the bottom of the camera lens, right? And it's real simple. This just simply screws on what's called T2 thread. This screws on right there. And now, here's the magic. Line up the red dots, turn it, and now we can very simply put this in here right where the diagonal was, tighten it down, and we now have attached our camera directly to our 80mm telescope. And now it's simply a matter of picking this up, sliding it onto the telescope, and I know about where the balance point is. We can check the balance real quick. In right ascension, this is the axis that the Earth rotates on. Boy, it's way out of balance. So we're just going to turn or loosen this counterweight, and I'm trying to keep it so it won't hit the table. And now it's still heavy. We're going to go all the way down. It's still going to be heavy, but the system can handle this. You actually always want it to be a little bit heavy on the counterweight side. But if you know you're heavy on the telescope side, that's fine. The whole point of that is to keep the gear mesh aligned. If it's in perfect balance, the teeth of the gears can bounce back and forth. But if they're always heavy on one side, it's always either going to be lifting or lowering with weight on the teeth. Same with the telescope and the declination axis. You want to have either telescope or camera heavy just a little bit. But now we've attached the camera to the telescope, and it's a very simple thing to once again just start using the mount. Let's say it's daytime and we want to do sun. We have a solar filter on here, which we can sell. We're probably over in the carousel right now. And let's go to solar and catalog solar sun salute object. There we go. We're going to go off to the sun, and it's going to point at the sun. If we've got a good polar alignment, it's just going to go to the sun. I have literally used a compass and a yardstick, or one time, just Tyler, just telling him to turn it left or right with a compass, and got a perfect polar alignment. We went to the sun, and we tracked it for over 5 hours one day, and it stayed dead center the whole time. Powerful little mount. The IEXOS 100 is a fantastic way to get started and go to tracking guided astrophotography. And there we go. We're going to follow the sun. Now, this mount is really easy to start using, but it's really powerful. There's things called guide cameras. Yeah, it's a little telescope with a camera in it, and it looks up at something, and it's for nighttime, and it'll find a bright star, and you tell it to lock on that star. And now, the guide camera monitors where that star is, and if it's tracking perfectly, the guide camera won't do anything. But if that star starts moving off that pixel, it knows it, and it tells the mount how to move to get that star back on the pixel that it started on. That's called guiding, and now you can take much longer exposures, 30, 60, 90, 120 seconds, 3 minutes, 4 minutes, 5 minutes. Depends on what your sky will give you. You know, under light polluted skies you can't do that, but under moderately light polluted skies you might get away with 2-minute exposure. And you just take a bunch of 2-minute exposures. Here's the beautiful part about astrophotography. It's taking pictures of something that's dim. So you're used to taking a picture, click, of your dog, you know, having a goofy face while it chases a frisbee. That's not how this works. This is taking a bunch of pictures, in this case, what are called light frames, of your target, 5 or 10 or 15, or some people take hundreds of these, and then they use a program to stack them up. So they stack up all those pictures. Why? Because the signal, the stars, the nebulosity, the galaxies are always in the same place, but the noise is random. So you start building up a signal, and that signal is the stars, and it keeps getting more and more information in the same spot, and it builds a picture that you can see, and it's much better than just one picture. There's a whole lot more to astrophotography, but that's to learn another day. The trick is to go out and just get started. An ED80, the digital camera you have, a mount like the IXOS 100, designed specifically to use a camera, a telephoto lens, or a small telescope like this ED80, or maybe a 102 millimeter. You'll have to get some extra counterweights at that point. And off you go. You can start doing astrophotography. Annie, what you got over there?
Mr. GP3PO
GP3PO
says, laugh out loud, my first astro camera used Kodiak 127 film.
Yep.
Removed the shutter from my snap shooter camera and did star trails.
That's brilliant. It's gutsy too when you remove a shutters, but you know, 127 film, I started shooting 120. You know, with the a Kodak uses flash cubes. That tells you how long ago that was when I started doing photography. Moved up to Minolta 101 or 102 in the like 1975, 6, something like that, and got some pictures. It was a time, you know, star trails. That's what I got. Tried doing pictures of some galaxies and stuff, and just couldn't do it. And you know, I was a teenager, and you know, other things, and you know, I was shooting for the newspaper in my town as a teenager, and just sort of tried to shoot lunar eclipses and you know, some solar eclipses and stuff. But that was in the days before you had easy to use solar filters, and so mine ended up being taking pictures of the projected image of the sun on the ground through a tree. You know, that dappled light under a tree is really a round image of the sun. And during an eclipse, you can prove it because that dappled light becomes crescent suns on the ground. You can hold a colander up and see the shadow of the colander and see little projections of the sun, you know, of the crescent sun. So, you know, that's what most of mine was. I tried some other stuff with a telescope, friend had. Boy, it's tough. It was tough with film because you didn't know what you were getting. With a digital camera, it's a simple thing. Take 10 or 15 pictures, pull the card out, or even have your laptop connected directly to the camera and watch what you're doing. And while it's taking a picture, you can sit there and manipulate the picture and see what's going on and make adjustments on the fly. I was lucky. I had a darkroom in my house. My dad was a newspaper guy. And I had a darkroom in the bathroom, and I could go in, shoot 15, 20 pictures, develop it, come back out, make adjustments. You know, nobody else could do that. If you weren't shooting black and white film, you couldn't do that. You had to take it and get processed. 3 or 4 days later, you find out what you had, and then you monitor and adjust and start all over. The learning curve was very long. Because of the beauty of digital cameras, you can find out instantly if you're doing something right or wrong. What you got, Annie?
he says he was like 10 years old when he did that.
That's still brilliant. Just pull the shutter out and cover it up with something to keep it dark, and then go out and at night and prop it up, remove whatever it is you're covering the shutter of that camera, well, the hole in the camera now, and wait, let it go for 2 or 3 hours, and then cover it back up. Brilliant. That's brilliant. I never thought about doing that. That is so cool. So cool.
And Tom says he's got to go, but thank you for replying.
Well, thank you guys for being out there, ladies and gentlemen, for being out there. We appreciate you being with us here on Amazon Live today and watching. If you're out there, there's a few people watching. If you're out there, give us a shout out real quick. I'd love to give you a hello back. And if you have any questions or comments, go ahead and ask now. I'm going to be on for another, we'll say, minute and a half or 2 minutes, and then we'll take off. So our schedule next week, I am going to be going to the Arizona Dark Sky Star Party in Oracle, Arizona. There's still time and room if you feel the need to fly into Tucson and join us September 21 through 25 in Oracle, north of Tucson, Arizona. It's Border 1 skies, almost pristine skies as you can get for being that close to a city of like 800,000 people. Mount Lemmon blocks most of the light. The desert air is clear and dry. It's a beautiful time of the season to be in Arizona. The monsoon is wrapping up, monsoon season. So there's going to be some great viewing next week. I won't be here. I may do some stand-ups from there. I plan to. But Annie and Tyler are going to be taking the duties. Next week's shows start out on Monday with How Do You Know? With Dr. Daniel Barth, who I believe is going to be in studio on Monday. Tuesday is Annie's Fun Day Tuesday, or Education Through Fun, where she talks about all these science and technology toys that we have and how to engage youngsters.
Maybe we should call it Tinkering Tuesdays.
Tinkering Tuesdays. I like that. That's, yeah, better than Fun Day Tuesday, although I personally, I thought of it. Tinkering Tuesday. That's pretty good. Tinkering Tuesday at 3 o'clock with Annie and Lucy talking about stuff you can tinker with and learn. Wednesday is First Light Chronicles. Thursday is On the Wing, a birding show about binoculars and how to get started in birding. And as you're discovered right now, Friday is, you're right, astrophotography. This is where the hobby's going because light pollution and astrophotography are compatible. If you can't see it with a visual telescope through your eyeball, amateur astronomy is tough. You got to go somewhere where the light pollution is moderated or non-existent. But with the miracle of short exposures and specific filters that we haven't talked about much, but you can put a filter in here that filters out all the light except some narrow bands of light, allows you to take beautiful, fantastic pictures using narrowband filters from the most light-plated place on Earth. Ton is doing it in the Netherlands, Europe. If you look at a light pollution map, Europe is terrible light pollution. I've got customers in Las Vegas and New York City who do wonderful astrophotography, from the back deck of their apartment or out in the yard, and just wonderful stuff in places where the most light polluted places on Earth. That's the miracle of narrowband filters. And Lucy says hi. Hi, Lucy. How are you? Appreciate the shout out. And with that, no questions have come in. I am going to go ahead and start the weekend, and we'll be going to Arizona Dark Sky Star Party. We'll probably do some live broadcasts while we're on the road. We love traveling and meeting people out there doing amateur astronomy and everything around it. So, for everybody here at Explore Scientific, hope you have a great weekend. I am Kent Martz. Thank you for watching Amazon Live and Focus on Astrophotography. Bye-bye, everybody.